keep it as small as possible. There will be a garden out the back if you want a bit of fresh air. My name is Bernie McGuigan with the group Reach Across. Jude is a former member, committee member, leader with us as well. I'd like to welcome you to Hollywell. The toilets, if anybody needs them, are just sort of beside where the cafe part is. And as I say, the exits are just as the door you come in, and there's also a back exit as well out to the garden, especially if you need a wee bit of fresh air tonight. So there's no other sort of things to do really. They introduce Jude. They welcome the launch of his book. Okay, thank you for attending.
Have I got my microphone probably not to work now? No, just for the live feed of it. Barney, we have a dud. We have a dud. We tested it twice. And me, I think it was another few times on top. 1, 2, we're on. Alright, everybody, I just want to start by doing my kind of acknowledgements and thanks. Thank you everybody for coming. The response the book's had so far has been incredible. My mind's just blown by it. It's just sort of hit me in the last maybe day or two. And look, I know there's going to be people I forgot. I know, and I feel genuinely terrible about it because so many people have helped me, so many people have encouraged and supported me throughout the whole journey. Especially, you know, the likes of local groups and stuff like that. You know, everybody's doing a great job, and raising awareness of autism is something that I really wanted to do. So thank yous for that. And I do have to give a special mention to my editor and favourite aunt in the whole world, which is Freddie May Scroll, who edited the book. Now, Freddie May actually turned my kind of incessant ramblings into kind of a story that everybody can read and enjoy. So I'm really grateful for that. And of course, Emily, my sister, my dad, Tony, and I know you told me not to do it, Mammy. You said do not stand on that stage and thank me, but you know, without you, Mammy, I would be absolutely nowhere. You're my mum and soulmate, and give me a hug. Even I was just amazed, even just before I started speaking, one of my old classroom assistants was here to see me, and it was just amazing to see her. I was so happy. It was Rasha Harvey. So again, I'm delighted to see everybody here. I'm going to kind of do the talk about kind of more differently. I know it's probably formed to do like a reading of a chapter, but throughout all the slides, I've just got kind of excerpts of different chapters throughout. So I'm going to start just by giving kind of a bit about, you know, what is autism, Asperger's syndrome. That's the OED definition of it, because whenever I kind of started questioning, you know, what is this thing I have, you know, what is this that kind of makes me kind of different, I looked it up, and you know, that's the definition there. Developmental disorder of variable severity that's characterized by difficulty in social interaction and communication, by restricted or repetitive patterns of thought and behaviour. And whenever I looked at that, you know, I thought 3 lines for how kind of complex a character and man that I was. 3 lines, is that it? You know, that's all, because I'm sure, Mammy, would you put a bit of a broader definition on that? Would you think?
How much longer?
And don't forget, we're live, and it's before 9 o'clock, so you can't use any kind of swear words. So I'll just start with this wee beautiful guy here. That's me when I was, what age was I there? Maybe 2. And I mean, you see there, you see kind of like a wee happy kind of smiling boy, but the one thing the camera didn't capture was the absolute hell that it was to get me to stand still. They posed for the photograph. I think that the photographer got a couple of left and right hooks as well, and everything like that. It just kind of goes to show that, you know, kind of on face value, look at this kind of happy child, but then kind of outside of the camera lenses, things were much more different. And just to kind of the excerpt I have there at the top is, I almost feel apologetic for being the way I was. I could have been the blue-eyed boy. Instead, I was aggressive, regimented, and my verbal skills mostly involved screaming and crying. I was a frightened child and prone to tears. And I mean, judging again by the photograph, you know, you wouldn't really think that, and things are so much different. You know, whenever you're actually living at home, you're living with the condition or caring for somebody who does. And whenever I was at my first playgroup, which I was told, well, I think Mummy was told quite quickly, they couldn't meet my needs. I had to go to a group for mixed abilities, and even whenever I went back to visit it, after I'd written the book, or even just sort of during it, kind of getting the same kind of sense, and this is probably one of my favourite passages in the book, talking about all of us, like the group attendees. We all knew our role within the group, and it was much more structured. We were all experts in our given field and trusted one another greatly. Due to this, the playgroup ran like clockwork, almost like a factory assembly line. And even seeing that, it was very comforting. Everybody was there. Everybody was doing their own wee job, the best that they could do, and then going home again. And I think, I came on a bit, whenever I was going through primary school. I had assessments for special needs schools. Of course, because I don't have a learning disability, it was discussed pretty quickly, and I did have a classroom assistant support right the way through school. She's an absolutely lovely woman, Kathy, and I was actually very upset to hear that she'd actually passed away quite some time ago. So here I grew up, and again, the cameras did tell us, a bit of a different story, as to what things were like at home. I was still very kind of regimented then, and I don't think it was very easy to love us, was it? I don't think so even then, and that was the thing, and it was that lady Kathy who was saying, who I gave the card to, because I really did bond with her, and it's such an important resource, the Senko program in schools. And I've moved from one primary school to the other for primary 7, and my teacher asked me to make her a card, which I did, and just from that passage I had one more session with my classroom assistant, which I gave the card. I remember clearly the message I had written inside: "Thank you, I will always be your friend." I always had that, and even if I kind of close my eyes, and I can remember actually writing it out. And so it came to me in P7, which is there. I went to Oak Grove Primary for P7, and my kind of repetitive behaviours and kind of mixed in difficulties in school were very much still existent. I suppose things were a bit of a challenge and a bit of a fight for my parents, just trying to get a diagnosis, trying to get to the, what was actually the cause of the way I was. And one of the parts in the book was, in the second chapter of the book, for primary 7, we had like an opera group that we all had our own roles and jobs to do. And leading on to this now, we had an external facilitator come to teach us different techniques of putting on a stage show. I refused to allow him to cause disruption to my show. He was only a renowned theatre director, singer, songwriter, and winner of numerous accolades. What did he know? I think I did absolutely everything. I wrote the script, I wrote all the songs for it, the music, designed the costumes. Somebody designed tickets for me, but then I didn't like them, and I decided, you know what, I'm going to print new tickets of my own. And I didn't actually act in the show. I stood at the back of the hall so I could direct them. And then whenever the curtain call came at the end, I had the cheek to come on the stage and do the curtain call right in the middle. we all the cast, and it was very much the Jude Morrow show throughout primary school. And I suppose then, the difficult questions started to come up then was, from Mum and Dad was, how is Jude going to manage in secondary school? And, all these questions kept, coming up and up, throughout my life. And I just have to say now that, whilst, the likes of the, local groups, amazing groups like COS and Jigsaw and Polka and loads of others, they didn't really exist or, have the same kind of magnitude as they do now. And that's whenever I joined Reach Across, which are based here, but back then we were over in the Diamond above tomorrow's dress shop. And it really was the making of me, and to Barney and Siobhan and all the Reach Across group. I'm forever in their debt, because I just felt like I belonged there from the start. The reason why I didn't kind of go into it in any more kind of detail in the book is because I don't have any words for it. And then if I asked somebody to get words to describe it for me, it wouldn't have had the same kind of impact. And by this stage, I had constructed a confident and outgoing persona to mask my own self-bitterness at the fact I was so different to everyone else at face value, nobody suspected I was any different, and memorised specific mannerisms that other people had and passed them off as my own. Like even last night, even to kind of give this talk, or any talk that I've ever been on, I've been watching people, giving talks, when they have the hand in the pocket, when not, when they reach for the back of the head, when they walk across, the other side of the room, they make different emphasis. And I mean, and that's what I do, that's what I've always kind of done. And I was progressing well academically, although socially I wasn't. I'd become an easy target and was often physically and verbally aggressive towards my classmates, both in the classroom and outside of it. I suppose, really, at all times, I was just kind of a red rag. I was just so kind of self-conscious and just so, I just had that kind of rotten kind of feeling of doubt. And the only way I can kind of describe it is, and it's written in the book, it's, the feeling of going on holiday and thinking, have I left the cooker on? Just that doubt, that is the door locked or something. And it's kind of that feeling all the time. That's probably as close as I could come to it. And eventually I got through school, and again with Rasha, I loved for her to have stayed because my sessions with her, the kind of the individual work I did with her as my classroom assistant were phenomenal. Although we may or may not have had a tough now and again, but I mean, they just sit with her and feel listened to and appreciated, and and she understood me, and that was the big difference for me. And I had got to 18, I'd somehow managed to survive through school, got me GCSEs, and then whenever it came to career choices, I got so used to kind of mixing here. I'd become a youth leader here, I'd become an assistant leader here, then eventually went on to be a full leader then, but that's whenever I decided I wanted to be a social worker at that time. And as imagine that, the person in the year group with the most social difficulties actually wanted to become a social worker. Of all the careers I could have chosen, the one most unsuited to my limitations is the course I decided that I wanted to pursue. And a lot of people would ask me, if you have these kind of social difficulties, then how can you survive in a career such as that? And my answer is always the same. It is, the kind of logical way that my mind works, whether it's a distressing situation for a family or a care, is that I can step back, look at the situation logically, think, and decide, okay, this is what we're going to do. And it's served me well up to now. A wee bit, do you think? A wee bit? I've done all right. I've survived it. I'm just kind of looking around for some of my colleagues who are narping around at the back. And I love learning about the other professions and how everyone would come together as a team to achieve positive outcomes for vulnerable people. I didn't tell anyone in my new team of my condition because for the first time I didn't feel the need to tell them. And whenever I had qualified and come out, I had been kind of discharged from the the child. Well, it wasn't like the ASD team like it is now. It was sort of as CAMS was up and coming. And whenever I was discharged from them, I remember meeting the consultant and saying, right, okay, we can discharge you now from our service. And I thought, happy days, I'm not autistic anymore. This consultant's discharging me, so I must be okay. And I'm sure a lot of people in the same position as me think the same, because taking it at face value, it is, we're discharging you from our service, which to me was, you're now fine, you'll be able to navigate the world, and everything will be okay. And as time went on, I suppose things got a lot more difficult for me. So then, after I'd kind of qualified, and it was really whenever I was waiting on Ethan to come, that kind of the traits and kind of behaviours that I thought I'd left behind, the kind of the meticulous planning and thinking so far ahead, because that was the main kind of basis of how to cope. I mean, there's a lot about autism and having structure, routine, and having everything kind of mapped out.